Okay, turn toward me. And open.
Whoa, what's this?
Some folks call this a guitar. I borrowed one of your drawings for inspiration. Took a bit of restoring. Real bone saddle here. Lacquered the whole body and used a Dremel to carve the, well, that's a rotary drill, or could be a saw depending on the tip, but actually it's a pretty versatile tool. Anyway, I had promised I would teach you, so. Well, if you want a lesson later.
Let me hear something.
What do you mean, play it?
And sing.
No. No, I don't sing.
It's my fucking birthday, man. Let's see what you got.
Shit. If I ever were to lose you, I'd surely lose myself. Everything that I've found here, I've not found by myself. Try and sometimes you'll succeed to make this man of me. All my stolen missing parts I've no need for anymore. I believe, and I believe 'cause I can see our future days, days of you and me.
Well, that didn't suck.
What's going on, guys? Bart here with Tully Television. Today we're going to be getting into The Last of Us Season 2, Episode 6 review. The Price is the name of this episode. And today I want to thank all you who are going to be stopping by, liking, commenting, sharing. I hope that we can earn you subscription today. If so, you hit that red subscribe bar down below. But without further ado, let's get into this week's episode of The Last of Us. This is the flashback episode where we get Joel back since the murder of him and his character by Abby. I lost my brain there for a minute. Back in episode 2. And we open up in Austin, Texas, 1983, where Joel and Tommy's father, who's a police officer, comes home to ask Joel what had happened for the day. We seen just a few moments earlier than that Tommy was worried that he was going to get punished by their dad, but Joel said he'd take the blame. Basically, what had happened was that Tommy was buying some weed from someone. He tried to rip Tommy off or something like that, and Joel came and beat his butt. And the cops were called and everything, and then obviously the father found out about what was happening. He explains that he's not going to hurt anybody or hit anybody, and he goes back to a story of his own life where when he was about 10 or something like that, he had shoplifted a piece of chocolate from the store, and the father made him go back and return it. to apologize. And the store owner, obviously, with the action, allowed it to go, without any further ado. Especially being, the kids, the father's trying to do the right thing. But when they go back into the car or on the way back to the car, he basically punches him in the face and, breaks his jaw to where it had to be wired for a couple of months. And everybody knew what it was that had happened, but no one spoke about it. And he said to Joel, what I want to do is become a better father than he is, even if it's by a little bit. So here we have a father who could have, understandably, in a way, considering back in the 80s where it wasn't really thought of to talk to your kids like a person necessarily all the time. It was just straight to hitting and slapping and, this is my house, my rules, all type of stuff, right? Without communicating emotions and why these things are happening. And I guess that what Joel's saying, you're not going to hurt anybody, kind of related the father back to how he felt. So that is a pretty cool showing that if you really are trying to become a better person, you will become a better person naturally. And we see the father lay his hand on Joel's shoulder and the infamous watch that now Ellie has in her possession. But I thought that was a pretty good where Joel learns a lesson about not necessarily always having to use violence to resolve a problem. We pick up then when Joel and Ellie first are there at Jackson, and Joel's trying to make deals, ingratiating himself in to certain people. We see the bigot sandwich guy, who I think made amends by episode 3. I think it was when Ellie was trying to get the revenge tour going, and Joel found a bag of Legos that he could give to this guy so he could give it to his grandkids, and in exchange, they're gonna make a cake for Ellie's birthday. So they start off with her 15th birthday, and each year Joel tries to do something special, being that kids cannot be kids in the apocalypse necessarily. And maybe that's partially why Ellie acts like a child, still like a young child, because there's a missing piece of her childhood in this apocalypse. But it just kind of makes me aware of how much she really is still ungrateful. I understand she's been mad at Joel. We see certain things transpire in this episode. But, like, for instance, she burns her arm where the bite mark from season 1 was, so she can wear short sleeved shirts. And it's kind of like, a little bit like psychotic, sociopathic, even though it's annoying to have to wear long sleeves, even maybe during the summer and stuff. We know why that had to happen, but she still burnt herself intentionally. So she disfigured her own body to wear short sleeve shirts. I guess. I don't know. But we do really see how much Joel has put into his thought and effort into Ellie over the years, and for her to be so callous with him with certain things. And we kind of get a blow off at the end of this episode. Like, for one birthday, he restores this guitar and gives it to her. He even plays a little bit of Pearl Jam for her, and she seems to really like it. And there's a time jump. There's several time jumps through it to kind of fill in the void of what happened throughout the time in Jackson, right? And so there's a time jump from her getting the guitar to her 16th birthday, where she gets to go to a museum, so to speak, and kind of see the planetarium and this big display of a dinosaur. And there's this spaceship there that was used to go to the moon. And um, here, Joel mentions patience again, to have patience because she's asking to go on patrol, and there would be time for this to happen. And when she asks him how long has he known about this museum, he mentions for a couple months, but I was waiting for a special day. Patience. Oh, need a little patience now. So this scene I thought was really wholesome and sweet because again, it almost makes you forget how inept Ellie is in this television show, more so than she was inept at as her character in the show. You almost forget that she's annoying in this show, and makes you wonder why she's the lead. But Joel was able to find a cassette tape for her to listen to, like a countdown, like T minus 30 seconds or whatever, for her to pretend in her mind she's about to go space exploration, right, in the ship and stuff. Which is not, I would probably do the same thing, you know what I mean? And I'm in my late 40s where I pretend I'd be sitting there in the ship and like, oh yeah, now I'm gonna fight these aliens or whatever. I don't know, or meet aliens or whatever. Why does it gotta be fighting aliens? But I get it. Again, it almost makes you want remember she's a person, right? And uh, some of the things she's missed in her life. It makes you feel a little bit empathetic for her, but then her other actions throughout the episodes here, and especially in season 2, are just so mind-numbing. But makes it out so much more. Yeah, it just makes it more disappointing to kind of see how the last couple years of her life with Joel were bit filled with tension because eventually the following year Joel catches her making out with a girl and getting a tattoo and smoking some weed, and she's doing all the things at one time. You know what I mean? Everything a girl could do to bug her father out. And he kicks the girl that she was fooling around with out. And he kind of is flippant with her sexuality because he's like, talk to me when you're back to normal or whatever like that. And I don't think he was intentionally being homophobic. I just think that, when it comes to your child or the child you're raising and you view as a daughter or as a son, it just makes you lose your brain for some reason, where normally in another situation, you'd be giving people logical advice about it. You know what I mean? So later on, they did talk though, because she wants to move out after that argument, because he said like, you're in my house and X, Y, and Z. And she's like, this isn't your house. You don't own anything. And they gave it to you. And yeah, he's working, though, in the community to have that house. He's actually working in the community as you're sitting there bitching and moaning and burning your arms on fucking pots, right? And complaining about how fucking horrible your life is, where there's a lot of people out there trying to look out for you. You know what I mean? But these are teenagers, man. Again, I still have to try to keep that in mind. So she moved. This is when she moves out to the garage, and that it will even go to show you that no matter how much you try to be a good parent, and when you think that you're doing things for their betterment, no matter what path you choose, it's hard to escape trauma sometimes, and it's hard to escape confrontation. You know what I mean? So you would think that because of all these wonderful things that he was trying to do for her, and that he took her under his wing when, right? Because at one point, she says, You're not my fucking father, right? You're right. I'm not your fucking father, and I could have left you out here so many times on your own to deal with the crap on your own, 'cause I'm not your effing father, right? And is that a mature way for an adult to act? I don't know. I'm not in this situation, especially in the apocalypse. You know what I mean? And so it just kind of there's understandingness of both sides and certain, especially when I've helped raise my sister, and I think that I'm doing things to betterment her when she may not feel that way. You know, those situations have happened. So ready. So from that particular time, we timed up 2 years now to when she's 19, and we could see her getting ready to confront Joel about the fireflies and what happened that night, because she's reminding herself to ask questions about this or that are not adding up to the story that Joel is giving, right? And so he actually comes to the door to ask her to go on patrol with him, and she agrees. And they come across, if you remember the therapist from the first couple of episodes, we come across Joel and Ellie with the husband. Remember how she was mad that understood why Joel did what he did in a way, but is mad at him for the way he did it. We come across that husband, right? We finally get to see how that went down also, and this is the tipping point to the whole thing, right? This episode for Ellie, he's bit, and not that it needs to be a little bite or a big bite, but it's a pretty gnarly bite into the side, like his side and stuff. And Ellie did the test that Marlene, I believe, from season 1 did on her, where he counts to 10 and there's no shaking or anything. And she wants to bring him home back to Jackson so he can say goodbye to the wife. Joel ain't feeling that, bro. And he agrees with her to let him come back to Jackson to go get the horses so they can go. Well, we kind of pick up that, especially knowing what happened, that Joel did not wait. He brought him down to the meeting place and took him out. And you may think that Joel's an asshole for that. And, he wasn't about to change yet, but he wasn't bringing him back in case that the infection broke out in Jackson. And Ellie is furious, right? Because it was the same face that he promised her that he did nothing at the end of season 1, and then this promise here in season 2 is the same face of, oh, I promised. Confirming that the Firefly thing is something that she definitely needs to confront him about. And so they go back. He's telling the wife a bunch of malarkey about he did it himself and he wasn't scared and stuff. And he wanted him to have Joel tell her that I love her, the wife. And Ellie is like, that's not what happened. You killed him. There was plenty of time. And yes, he was infected, but you promised you wouldn't do this, and he did. And the understanding of why Joel did what he did was there, but how he proceeded to do it was what the problem seemed to be. And then later on, then we have one more time jump 9 months later to Ellie to the New Year's Eve party where the brisket sandwich guy confronts Ellie and Dina about kissing. Joel interferes, gets yelled at, and then when Ellie gets home, she confronts Joel about the fireflies, and she basically says, I need you to tell me the truth. She asks him questions, and he's shaking his head yes or no to confirm that is exactly what happened. I went in, I took out all the fireflies, I took out all the doctors, and you were the cure, but I prevented that from happening because I love you in a way you don't understand. and maybe you won't understand until you become a mother and have to face some difficult decisions when it comes to your child, but hopefully you can be a little bit better than I am. Repeating the words of the father to Joel, because Joel's father did say that to him, when you have children, try to be a better father than me. And so you see how that progresses, the cycles. Now, she tells him she wants to forgive him and she's willing to try to forgive him, even though she felt he took away her purpose in life. And then basically, we kind of know what happens the next day. Joel gets taken out and stuff like that. And we see in current time Ellie going back to the movie theater. She must have took out Nora and is going to make her next move. I do believe that the next episode is the last episode of the season. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens next week. That's my thoughts and review of this episode. Let me know what you guys have thought down below there. And until next time, peace, Snookums.